Hey everyone, we're here not live at the piano because today should be a pretty short video. We're looking at the Beethoven Sonatina in G major, Anhang 5. Okay, this is a fairly simple piece, so this shouldn't be a very long video, okay? But just have a general comment getting into this because I know this piece is probably very easy and under the level of some people watching this. For some of you, maybe it's at your level or above. But I think it's really beneficial to take time to be as musical as you can, or refine your musicality with pieces that you're not preoccupied with the notes so much because of the challenge that they present. So, and this might be a good piece for that. So you could be levels way above this, and there's all kinds of things you can work on with your musicality in here. And that's what I'm here for today, is to kind of help you along with that. I do have a score here. I believe this is actually a Henley version of the score. I hope I'm allowed to share this one here. If ever I get in trouble with rights or something on YouTube, I'll have to figure out what to do with that. Okay, but there is an IMSLP one. Why don't I just switch to the IMSLP one here, just in case there's a problem. The IMSLP one that I have is pretty much identical to this one. And that's probably the one you're gonna have. Where did I put it? Sonatina in G. Okay, here we go. This is the one I found on IMSLP. All right, it's a little less nice, but I think it's pretty similar to what we had in the other one. Okay, so here we go. What do we do first with this piece? Well, you know, everyone kind of plays this like this. This is how we're used to hearing this piece. It sounds awful. One, two, three, four, yeah, okay. All right, so that's okay. That's probably how you're playing it now. So what can we do with this thing? So we start out with just 3 chords. Our tonic, that's the first chord of our home key, which is G. So a G major chord. And a dominant, D7, back to G. So you see how there's no tension when we're on the tonic chord. If our piece is in G major and we hear or whatever, it's like the end of the piece. We're not expecting anything else. There's no tension in here that's saying we need another chord to play. For example, if we go, we can't say that's the end of the piece. There's some tension there that we're waiting for the tonic, the resolution of that dominant. It's like there's some funny videos about that on Instagram. Anyway, so a little less here and a little more here, and then wind back. And then instead of, we get, just like we had in tonic, dominant, back to tonic. All right, so this is the same. Now these things here, and they just need a shape. It doesn't matter so much, I think, whether we go yeah da 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 dee, yeah dee da 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 da, or if we go yeah da 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 da, put a swell in the middle, or a swell in the middle here. As long as it has some kind of shape, we're satisfied with that. And this one here, here's our dominant chord again, winds back down to G here, okay? So when we have G major here, let's start gently, and we'll kind of peak up to here, and then resolve. So we get something like this. We build up. Ya da 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 ti. Second sequence. Ya da 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 ya. So we have a melodic sequence. A little more on the second one. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. And then we can resolve that. See how that makes a nice arch? And then this last note here, I'm kind of putting a dim over a dim, okay? Because while this does get softer, we don't want that. We want this note a little more than the last one. So gauge yourself accordingly. Okay, next thing we have in here is another sequence. We got another arch over 2 bars. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. We come back down. Okay, how would we write that on paper? We got a thing here, and I think we got to show this part of the curve. Or the highest note. And then here, a little bit more. Okay, so more on the second one. Less and less. From here, we come down. All right. So, how come Beethoven didn't write all this? Well, I guess he was a little bit lazy this day. That's not that he's lazy. It's just composers. It's kind of limited what they were actually putting on paper. It's not that they were limited. It's that you can't really write everything and expect it to be clear. Sometimes it's clearer to just write piano and a little decrescendo in the second bar. So, but here I am explaining it to you. And, you know, every little passage, every little scale should have a shape. And the shapes don't have to be exactly a certain way all the time. We have some flexibility as how we shape those things. So it's really up to us to figure out all these extra dynamics, I suppose we could call them. Okay, it's a very short piece, guys, so you know we're like in the second phrase and it feels like it's almost over already. But I like to shape a little over the curve, like that. Less and less. Now, this whole piece, we've been pretty strict about timing because it's very classical and it just doesn't make sense to add all kinds of rubato just anywhere. At least the music's just, it's not written for that. So we have to be strategic. And this is a place where we do want to take time. Something like that. Let's just say rubato here. That way you could be free to do whatever you want. But this is strategic. Now we're being strategic. Why? Because as a listener, when we hear all of this in time, am I going to play this whole thing? Maybe. We hear all of this in time, but there's rubato in that single bar. It stands out. Even if we're not paying attention, it stands out. And we get it that we're back to the beginning. We're hearing the same thing again. Okay, let's see how all that goes together. More on dominant shape. I like more here. That's just one way of doing it. Building up to here and then back down. I didn't mean to take time there, sorry. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Little more here. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Here we go. Da, 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 dee. Okay, that's very little rubato. Maybe you take a little more time there. But that makes it, that brings out the general structure of the piece, which is maybe the most expressive thing for the listener to understand. The most expressive element for the music, for the listener, is to understand the structure. Okay, at least that's what John Sloboda says. That's just a repeat. Then we have the little Codetta. It just seems perfectly natural to do an arch here. And then, so we have, don't start too loud here. Give it a direction. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. Cut. Less now. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1. And that's the other place that we take a little time, obviously. This is nice too. If you take the pedal off there. It just changes up the texture a little. Maybe a little balance in this chord. So you make sure you hear the B with the thumb, but not like that, you know? Just listening carefully. So there we go. There we have it. Just a few very specific ideas that you can work on to turn this piece into, you know, something awfully bland, into something where you're actually practicing your musicality. And a lot of this has to do with the way, there's one more thing I want to say in here. The way you avoid kind of accenting the beginnings of the bars. Okay, so for example, better to go, then you, it's like you play, but instead of playing and having arrived somewhere, it's like you play and you're in the middle of going there. Now this is kind of similar. That's the last thing I wanted to share with you. Sometimes you could just think about shaping to the middle of the bar. It's not always going to work, but there's some passages like this one that I think they make so much sense. I wouldn't want to play with an accent on the beginning. It's very unmusical compared to, let's say we go to 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 1, 2, 3. Here's where we have rubato. Okay, so you see, it was never the beginning of the bar that made sense to accentuate here. Same thing when we had, please don't do it. Like that. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, I think I said everything here. Happy practicing. I hope you can look at sometimes pieces that you're not so preoccupied like forever with just getting the right notes down and fingering and the timing, and that you're able to take sometimes things that maybe you could even sight read and just develop your musical skills, because you'll get very good at it working on repertoire like this. Okay, peace, over and out. Happy practicing. We got a masterclass on October 5th. You can look at the link in the comments if you want to join us. It's really just a get together where we get to talk face to face. All right, take care. Peace, over and out.